All right, my red pill people, let's go farther down the rabbit hole and let's talk about changing materials on a mesh and leveraging your theme defaults for bringing materials back to your meshes. Probably a little confusing, but I'm going to explain that here in a second. So in our project here, we just have our theme defaults per se. Remember that we did our set mesh materials script and we assigned all these meshes and the physics to all these meshes. And so we have our fairway here, and our fairway has the OPCD Moss Fairway Lush. And remember, that was assigned via the set mesh materials because we chose the Lush theme, and the Lush theme had this material assigned for all of our fairways. So we have this fairway has that, and this fairway has that this material. So same thing with our bunkers, our custom one over here, which is really ugly because it's just orange still because we haven't decided what we're going to do there. And we've got our bunkers and all kinds of stuff. So let's talk about changing these materials. Now, the first thing I want to show you is that materials are very flexible. And what you see, okay, can be changed just by changing the material properties. That's going to come in a later video. There's lots of stuff that you can tweak with the material itself. I'm talking about putting a completely different material. Now, you might not want to do that, but I think it's important to understand in the grand scheme of things what materials are and what swapping one out looks like. So let's swap some materials out here, and I'm also going to show you how to get back to defaults. So we have our fairway. Let's look at this fairway, and we got this fairway lush, which is right here. When I clicked on it, it gets highlighted in our prop, project. So I got fairway lush. And if I click on that, you can see all the properties for that material. We're not going to really talk about that now. So let's go back into this fairway and let's come over here to this little search field. And if I type in here OPCD fairway, what I'm doing here is I'm looking for anything in my project hierarchy that contains the word OPCD and also the word fairway. And these are the results I get back. And I got two different kinds of results. I got scripted objects here, okay, which are these guys with the Unity symbol next to it. This is a scripted object. And then I also have these materials themselves, which are the ones with the blue circle next to it. And these blue materials, okay, anything that's a material, I can essentially assign, okay, to this fairway. So these are OPCD MHS materials, and they can be used in the OPCD MHS uh, shader, which we see here. More on shaders later on, but we can use any of these. So I'm going to take this fairway apron, and I'm going to drag it over here and drop it in this slot. And now that fairway apron material has been assigned to this fairway. And as you can see, okay, that looks kind of cool. I don't have any mow lines and things. And also, let's see, let me also drag that over and put it into this one. So fairway apron, I'm going to put it on this fairway as well. Cool, I just changed the materials on two of my fairways. Well, what about my bunkers? Let's say I want my bunkers to be something different. Now, highlight this bunker, and you can see this is the OPCD Moss Sand Raked Dirt Lip Lush. Okay, again, that was assigned via the set mesh materials script. That was what we did via the script. And here it is, Lip Lush. Now, I want to assign this something different, but I want to make sure that you guys can see this. Now, let me go up here and do OPCD Sand. And when I do that, oh man, I got all kinds of stuff for sand. Now the differences between these are fairly subtle. So I actually made a material so I could show you guys a very big difference here. So here's my Lush 1. So I changed this to make it red so we could easily see it. So let me go back to this bunker and let me take Lush 1, drag it over here. You can see, now this is ugly. I wouldn't use this on a course, but at least now you can see that it only updated that one bunker. So now you can see the power of that set mesh material script. Without it, we would have to go into every single mesh and update the material on it, potentially hundreds of them. But the set mesh material script did it all for us and blanketed it. But we can do these one-offs. Now, what if I wanted to change a few bunkers, okay, or all of them? Well, option number one is I could go into the set mesh materials script change it in there to this red, and then update them all. But if I do that, what's going to happen? Well, it's going to not only update this bunker, but it's going to update all the other ones. So if I update this bunker, actually do it. Let me show you. Set mesh materials. Move this over here. I got my bunker, my lip lush one. Where are my bunkers? I am looking for sand, right? T, semi-rough, bunkers. Where am I missing here? It was right in the top, staring me in the face. So I'm going to take this lush one and assign it. There we go, to my bunker. And now, okay, if I do replace materials, continue, and it's warning me, it's going to overwrite everything. If I do that, okay, and I hit this, I'm not going to do it because it's going to take some time. I'm going to resave it as the same one. I'm going to cancel out of this. It's going to replace all my bunkers, and it's also going to send these fairways back to the default, which is lush, not apron, which I have signed now. So you can now see what things get overwritten, right? So that's why you have to be careful with this. So let me change this back to lip lush. Oops, where it didn't, lip lush there. And then I'm just going to do save my scene. So this is saving it as my Hershey Country Club. Now that's back to the way it was before. Now let's go back into here, and let's say we just want to assign a few bunkers to this red ugly texture, but not all of them, but we don't want to do them one at a time. So what I can do here is I could highlight and hold down shift, and now I've got these bunkers highlighted, and now I can take my lush one, drop it in here, and you know something, what I didn't do earlier, this is bad. Yep, I should have done the update materials. So let's go object, did that. Update materials. Now that's lush one. And if we go to all these, they should all be lush one. Oops, that did not update material. Lush one. Lush one. Okay, so those are all updated now. Remember, don't forget update materials. I almost did. So now those are all red, and we got some that are still the other one. Well, wonder if we want to update all of our bunkers to the red, but we don't want to do it via the set mesh material script. Okay. Well, another option is we could come over here and I could do a search for bunker. And you can see when that comes up, I've got bunkers, I got my blends, and I've got my meshes. So we want to strip this out a little bit more. Let's do bunker and mesh. So when I do that, now you can see I've got all my bunkers over here. I can highlight them all by holding down shift and clicking here. And now I can take my lush one, drop it into that material slot, and now it updates all my bunkers. So if I X out of this, now you can see all my bunkers are now red. Okay. Now, what didn't I do? I didn't update materials. So if I highlight this bunker, look at me at S1, my scripted object, it still says lush. So I want to make sure that I update materials. That's now lush one. Let me see. Did that one get updated too? Yes. So my updated materials updated it for all my bunkers. So now I updated all my bunkers to my ugly red material. Let's go one more and look at this area here, this custom. And I want to do something like pine straw here. So I'm going to just type in OPCD pine straw. And this is where you guys just need to explore some of these materials. I'm going to do pine straw and roots. Drop that in, and you can see what this kind of looks like. Don't get too worked up on what these, you just want to get familiar with what different things are, like pine straw and roots. You can see some root material in here. And then what do I need to do? Well, update materials, right? To make sure that these channels are all updated with pine straw and root. So now I got quite the mess going on here, right? I've drifted far away from my defaults. So let's say I hate this, okay? Well, let's say I don't like this bunker here. So I can highlight this bunker. So if I want to get back to the defaults, there's various different ways I can do that. Highlight the bunker, right click, I can do set default materials. Now I do that, what happens? It goes back to the material that is currently here in my set mesh materials. So the sand rake dirt lip lush, it went back to that sand rake dirt lip lush. Okay, so that has now been returned because that is the default in my theme. However, what did I do? Well, I changed the materials, right? So I need to update materials here. So that just changed that one bunker. Now I could do this for multiple bunkers, right? If I highlighted multiple bunkers, I could do the same thing. I could right click on it, set default materials. However, what if I wanted to get everything back? Okay, well, if I wanted to get everything back, the easiest way is to come back in here into my theme. I could just select replace materials, warning. So keep in mind when you do this, my pine straw is going to get overwritten. Everything's going to get overwritten to my theme. Okay, so I'm going to do my lush. Do you want to replace it? Yes, I'm not really replacing it. It's the same settings I had before. And now it's going to run. It's going to take a second or two, but you can see the power of set mesh materials, which is it can replace all of your meshes. It's very handy at the beginning. However, later on, you got to be careful about using that, because if you went in and you changed a bunch of materials outside of what you have here, going back and running set replace materials again can be very problematic. Now you can also use this in such a way where you could replace your bunker here as default, this default material, and then you could highlight multiple bunkers in here and replace it using the right click method here. You could do that temporarily. So there's lots of different options here, and depending on what you want to tweak. So let me just close this. One final remark is you can see that my custom here is back to orange. My bunkers are back to what they were initially, as if we just ran, or we were just at the beginning of this video series on setting our mesh materials. Okay, so defaults and materials covered.